Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio Success Express Business and Career Show. San Diego Employment Attorney Ward-Heinrichs, I'm sorry, I just gave you a new name, Ward, is back on the show to give us an update on California's warehouse quotas. There's like a restriction going on, and I don't quite understand what this quota thing is, but I do believe it protects workers in the warehouse. So Ward's got an article about it. You can see it right now on blendradioandtv.com and other articles in his past interviews. And of course, you want to keep up with Ward, go to his website, bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com, because he's simply the best. So welcome back, Ward. How are you?
There you are.
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. I'm not going to tell you what my age is. What the heck? I just turned 62. I just turned 62.
Good for you.
Birthday.
Well, let me just say, you do not look 62.
No, you
Well,
don't.
thank you.
You don't. You look
very
like
dapper,
you should
dude.
be
You're
out on
doing
a
it.
baseball field pitching.
He likes baseball, don't you?
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Maybe I'll just do
How are
that.
the Padres doing?
Yeah.
Oh, the Padres are doing really well, and thanks for asking about that too, because it's exciting. The whole city's just on fire about it.
Yeah.
We thought we had a good team, but then Tatis was sidelined again because he was maybe our best player, one of our best players for sure. Spent a lot of money getting him. And he was injured at the beginning of the year. And then when he was ready to come back, they said he was doping. And so they didn't let him play the rest of the year either.
No.
So everyone's bummed out. And I know the team got bummed out. And even though it's still a good team, they didn't play that well until just recently. And they're playing up to their capacity, I think, now. And so we got a shot at going to the World Series and winning it, I think.
No way, really?
Awesome.
Padres, dude, get the beer scene going. I mean, all the breweries must be hopping, and I mean, this must be the whole impact of your birthday, since they started really kicking butt on your birthday.
Well, actually, they lost that game on my birthday. I was a little disappointed. That was the first game here against Philadelphia. And all my family's from Philadelphia, or a lot of them are. And so they're razzing me. Oh, man, they have the ugliest mascot. Oh, boy. But we came back, and we won 2 days ago. They're the second game of the series, and now we're in Philadelphia tonight.
Okay, well, there it is.
Maybe a win.
So this is really important when we're talking about warehouses. You know why? Because of San Diego's breweries, and they must have warehouses for their breweries, because you got lots of breweries.
You bring up some interesting issues there.
That was a good segue, right?
I love that.
Listen, everyone, Ward's here every fourth Wednesday, and not only does he give us employment law updates, he gives us brewery and Padre updates, fishing updates, and everything to do. But it's important. It's important that we have quality of life, right? So
you gotta have a few avocations and just things that you do for fun, right?
Yeah. Besides, this is a hump day thing, and so when it's a hump day, we need some happiness. So every fourth hump day, Ward is on the show. That's good. But we have no camels called Ellis. But Ward, warehouse work is hard. And I remember this whole warehouse situation with Amazon when we were driving through Alabama. They were looking at getting a union, and then they were talking about how Amazon was tracking people, like even the drivers, how they have tracking devices on what you do when you take a break. I mean, do you get to take the tracking device off when you go potty? I mean, we're just like, so
is it implanted in your body?
No, it's like a thing. It's just like a Fitbit, I think.
Now you're getting into sci-fi.
I know.
Amazon's got some issues, but not sci-fi.
No, but I mean, it seems like it's almost like everybody is being. It doesn't sound very freeing. Like you can be a person. Just saying.
Well,
so is this part of this whole thing? This quota restriction?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why California passed that law was mainly because of how Amazon ran its warehouses, and there were really severe quotas that you had to make, and for any unproductive time, they would flag that if it got too big for any worker. And so, and the biggest issue seemed to be that Amazon had twice as many serious injuries in its warehouses as any other warehouse owner had in the industry. So they had a lot of injuries, it looked like. And so that's why California said, hey, look, they're, you're making them work so hard that they aren't working safely.
Right.
That's really what it came down to.
Yeah.
And so they passed this law, and that it's supposed to help that. And we haven't seen the data yet. I mean, it's only been going on for about almost 10 months. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything that talks about, whether it's working, et cetera. And I haven't seen a case about it either, personally. But it's a matter of time.
The quota thing. So is it about like how many boxes you packed in so many hours, or how many things were shipped in so much time?
Yeah, how much work you do measured by some type of specific outside of your specific measurement requirement, which is, boxes packed or, other types of measurement requirements that are similar.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom used to work in a factory, and she was having to cut with automatic scissors, which is hard to explain, patterns out. And if you went too fast, you cut your finger off. So, and there's all these, patterns, which curves and everything. And so she had to cut, but not cut her fingers off. But the boss was always, you have to do so many patterns per hour. You had to get so many finished. And then if you did that, they would only give you a raise if you could do 25 more in that hour. So you were pushed. Yeah, you were pushed and pushed to go faster and faster, but don't injure yourself.
Because then you're a liability.
Okay, because then you're a liability. And there is obviously a physical limit to how fast you can do stuff without getting hurt.
This is kind of like the garment law that we were talking about earlier this year.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
Similar.
Yeah.
Quotas in that industry too that created unfair circumstances and dangerous circumstances.
So that was kind of new. And then the warehouse one, because that is packing, shipping, and you can get injured because number one, if I was in there driving a Bobcat.
I'm leaving.
That's
I'm out.
Beep beep, reverse over somebody, beep beep, drive into a shelf, beep beep, the thing won't go, So I could see injuries with that, but just even because you are physically lifting and carrying. And Amazon, I mean, I wonder if like the whole COVID pandemic, when everybody just started, that was the way of getting anything, was Amazon. They did really good, but those warehouse workers, were they pushed to the extreme to get things out at that point?
Yeah, and this legislation occurred during the pandemic. And again, I think you're right. That's a big reason why it was done at that time, is because Amazon was really gearing up and selling a lot of different things to people around the world.
But this isn't just for Amazon, right? So this is
it's not just for Amazon. But I have read several things that said it's really targeting Amazon. But one of the legislatures also said that other warehouse owners, mercantile places, et cetera, were doing similar things now. They'd seen how successful Amazon was, and they were doing similar time measured efficiency and quotas.
But at the end of the day, if somebody gets injured, the impact of that can actually close a business if they have too many injuries in too short a space of time. So I mean, there has to be some kind of balance, and even the incentive to work faster. I kind of feel the onus is on the owner of the company to say, we don't want you to work that fast that you get hurt. That, you know what I mean? There's got to be some safety things put in there where you don't go really stupid trying to work so fast, and also for the quality of the product.
Yeah, and this legislation addresses that. So the time that you take off to make sure things are following Cal OSHA is not time that can be counted against your quota efficiency.
Okay.
So, the legislation is really focused on a safe workplace. That's the biggest thing. But it's also focused on making sure people get proper rest breaks, meal periods, and bathroom breaks. Some people complain they weren't getting enough bathroom breaks because the quotas were so hard. And I guess that's a safety thing too. That's a physical injury type of thing.
That's
and
not good.
If you're not getting rest and you're working that hard, that could lead to more injuries. So it's really about safety, but it did pull in a couple ancillary things that are marginally related to safety.
Well, dude, when you have to go, you have to go. What are you supposed to do? If you have to go to the bathroom and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't go for another hour." Really?
Well, some people were claiming this, and I don't know. I mean, I just read an article or a couple articles. And I can understand that, putting it off, maybe not going at all, but putting it off because you don't want that unproductive time marked against you. Right. And so in one of the articles I read, it said that people would ask some of their coworkers to keep, what do they call that when you hit it with a laser to say that you're working? Anyway, putting a keep scanning this product for me while I'm gone so it doesn't look like it's unproductive time.
Wow. Oh, that's really not good. That's not good because then you're getting everybody. This is like being in school, but it's like talk about micromanage to a point of you're not a human being. And I think that's so I said it's not very freeing. Like, what happens if something with the equipment needs to be checked? Now you're going to get in trouble because you're like, hey, something's not working. We've got to check something. You know what I mean? It's kind of a how are you're going to keep going, or hey, just let it roll.
Good point.
When you start getting treated that way, it's demoralizing, and so you don't have a good productivity rate anyway. You're gonna lose good employees over it. I would say, because I would probably walk if somebody told me I couldn't go to the bathroom. I might just.
Well, again, I don't think anyone's telling you. Well, they're not saying don't go, but you're feeling the pressure because of the system that's set up.
Good thing Amber Heard.
So it's up to you. There. It's up to you. It's kind of up to you.
If Amber Heard was there, you know what would happen.
Yeah,
we're back to that again.
No.
Oh, I had to because we've used that case.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll behave. And she's going after him again, Johnny Depp. She's going to start all over again. Can you believe it?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Fixated,
so how do they do that? It's like.
Well, I would think that she'd be fighting it on appeal right now, but I haven't read anything about it.
Yeah,
opening up a new case, that would be pretty.
I don't know
unusual.
if it could be appeal. I don't know, but she's going after him again, and I'm just like, oh God. And now Angelina Jolie's going after Brad Pitt. So there we go. So everybody's having a big drama. So there it is.
But then back to the factory.
Sorry. Okay, so this is a very interesting year. So we've got to look at the garment industry, we're looking at the warehouse industry, and we were also looking at fast food workers. And it seems to be very aligned in taking care of employees. But like there's warehouses and then there's big warehouses. So it seems in this bill that we're also not looking at a small brewery that has a warehouse in the back and there's one dude working there.
Yeah, you mentioned one of your emails, the brewery thing, and maybe before we were on the air, you mentioned it.
I'm always talking about breweries.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. Brewing is pretty cool, and beer's good. But yes, because you need at least 100 employees working to fall under this law at a single warehouse. I don't think it's going to at least pull in many microbrew places. Now, maybe like Anheuser-Busch or something like that. That's possible. Yeah. And remember, it's only California, so Anheuser-Busch can do and Amazon can do what it wants in the other 49 states, but only in California does it have to comply with this law. So I think the microbrews are probably okay on that. And the other demarcation for numbers was, well, if you have 1,000 employees in California, even if you don't have a facility that has 100 or more, then again, if you have 1,000 warehouse workers, you would fall under the purview of this law.
I don't understand that.
No, it does because there's small people aren't necessarily doing like, I'm going to track every time you go to the bathroom or eat, they're not as intense.
They're
The
not as
smaller
sophisticated,
people.
I think, because like you
Yes.
said, there's these tracking devices that are people are wearing, I think, and I hadn't heard that, but when you mention it, that makes sense. And so they're tracking their efficiency all the time. And I think, most small places, I'm not sure that they're doing that.
No.
But I don't see that if you work for a big place that you should be treated any differently or worse than when you work for a small place. I think workers' rights are workers' rights, and they should all be identical.
That's true.
The only way I could possibly answer that is by saying, well, they know that Amazon had these very restrictive quotas, and they said that other big retailers and wholesalers were doing the same. We're starting at least to do the same kind of thing, and I'm going to guess that smaller businesses aren't that onerous. I mean, that's my guess. Yeah. And the other thing is it's cost, because, the bigger places can't absorb the cost more easily. So if you have, one place, a storage facility, and I can't imagine that you'd have 100 workers, but let's say you did,
wow.
A better example would be you have 5 workers in a small warehouse, and it's working fine, and there's no sense in meddling with that. That makes sense to me, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, so there's a quota thing. So what happens if someone does, break that quota? Like, okay, so you have this monster of a warehouse, and you've got the 1,000 employees, and then there's these restrictions on quotas. So they're like saying you can't force the X number of things to happen at this time. So who's enforcing that? Who's saying, how much an employee should or should not do for this quota thing?
Well, the employees can enforce it themselves. They can say, hey, look, I can't take my bathroom breaks. I haven't been able to take a decent meal period, and they can actually sue for it. The other part of the law allows the labor commissioner to come in and inspect. And it doesn't, and they may be inspecting on some report that an employee has given them, or they may be respecting just because there's another agency that said, we think something's going on here. So they can go in and inspect and see.
Ooh, so the labor commissioner, nobody wants that. The commish.
No, you don't. And I've helped, several clients with those types of things. And it is a little nerve-wracking. Because you're giving up documents, and they can just come in. The law says they can just come in, and then I wonder about, well, what about the Fourth Amendment here? But I guess it's not criminal, so maybe not.
I worked for this one company. I suppose I shouldn't say their name, but they're pretty big and they're international, and they were doing things with overtime with employees. And when you during work hours, you had breaks, but when you worked overtime, they were really bad about, could you go to the bathroom and could you have dinner? They got a little like, no, if you choose to work overtime, their mindset was, if you choose to work overtime, then you should be prepared to spend 4 or 5 hours without any
time and a half, because you're getting extra.
Yeah, because you're getting extra money, and you knew this was going to happen, and you made that choice. So I don't remember signing a paper that said that, but I remember them saying that when you work at overtime, that it wasn't the same as during like normal working hours, which I still don't quite get, but that's how they ran the company. And they're international, and they're big.
I think they'd have a problem in California on that, though, because you can waive 1 meal period, but you don't have to waive any. And if you work 10 hours or more in California, you get 2 meal periods unless you waive 1. So they'd be violating the law if they required that in California. And rest periods, same thing. You have to have your second rest period by 6.5 hours through. So. And then the third rest period, I've never seen a third rest period claim. And so I don't remember the time, but I think it might be 10 hours that you have to have another rest period.
Yeah, 10 hours gets, depending on what you're doing, especially if you're doing physical work,
Yeah.
the warehouse work is a lot of work. I mean,
and that was the problem because 40% of Amazon's injuries were musculoskeletal.
Yeah.
And so it was the bending and the twisting and the reaching and doing all that stuff. And that's why they had such a high injury rate on the job and that type of injury.
And that type of injury can affect you for the rest of your life.
It's possible. They did say that they had twice as many serious injuries, and I don't know how many of those actually came from warehouse work, but probably. I mean, you're lifting heavy stuff and a lot of stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it makes some sense. If you're sitting behind a computer, you're not going to have that kind of injury.
No.
Well, and then
no, but they say Super
use
Bowl
equipment, like dangerous equipment.
Well, there's that too. Absolutely. That would be another reason for having injury.
They say Super Bowl, or the big game, however you're supposed to legally say it anymore, that they have more football injuries on that day because people are jumping up off the couch that have been, sitting behind the computer. And then they get all riled up and think they're, Rambo and run up steps and go outside and play football, and they haven't played football forever. And they have more injuries in hospitals and urgent care from Super Bowl, not than the actual game.
That's just personal choice.
Getting out there and it's like, oh, hey, jump off the couch.
Okay, America, get off the couch, do a little workout, and you won't be hurt on Super Bowl day.
Yeah, really.
Come on. For the day. Come on, I know.
Yeah,
but this is interesting where we're going. I wonder what's going to happen next year. Have you got any inklings of more?
I just got a phone call, but I will not pick it up.
See, they all know. They're like, call Ward now before the labor commission.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Yes.
We need help.
They're coming. They're coming. But do you see more of these kind of laws coming in? I mean, I was thinking it kind of goes with agricultural workers and things like that.
Oh, for
these
sure.
Kind of things happening for like next year.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing a push with unions more than I've seen ever. Well, probably in the last 20 years, union representation has declined dramatically in the United States. It's like 7% in the private. And so unions are really pushing a lot of these things. And they were pushing the legislation for the quota safety. So you are seeing a trend. Yeah, I agree.
I'm wondering if this is going to affect, if this is, the warehouses are pushing and pushing and pushing. What's happening in the transportation, because I know truck drivers that there was there's certain places that I know for sure those even the cops turn a blind eye because the industry is so big in logging or whatever in different places that the truck drivers drive like crazies, and trust me, I drive around a lot of truck drivers on what we do, and they like if they're speeding, the cops leave them alone because that industry is so big for that smaller community, and they will be going like 75 in like a 50 zone, 50, 55 zone, and they own it. And it's not safe, and they're pushed and pushed and pushed because of the quota being so big. So I'm wondering if we'll start to see this happen for the actual delivery drivers for Amazon, et cetera, because they still have to pick up everything too.
That's interesting because they are under time pressure too. Amazon definitely they're hustling around. FedEx, same thing.
But those guys are not
if you don't deliver by this time, you get a free pizza.
Exactly, and they're not going to stop and help you fix a flat tire where truckers will.
Yeah,
you're not going to see Amazon or FedEx or one of those people stop and help you with a flat tire, but you will see truckers do that.
Oh yeah, no, good point. They're under time pressure, so little old lady by the side of the road can't help you.
That's right. I beg your pardon.
It's a little old lady from Pasadena.
I mean, I just meant a little old lady. Come on.
Little old lady from Pasadena.
Well, that's funny. Yeah.
No, truck drivers, they've helped. I mean, they're amazing on the road. I just, they are, they're like the guardianship for me. They are like amazing human beings at what they do, and they know driving. I'm amazed at the skill level of how, they can reverse certain things and park and do in weird places. I just have a thing about it. I know it's weird, but like I'm a pro truck driver. But that's a whole other show.
You're a truck driver groupie.
One thing I need to get what are those little truck driver thingies for the car
Bobblehead?
radio?
Oh, CBs.
Yeah, CB
Yes.
radio. We want to get those. So that sometimes you want to say thank you because
We want to be rubber ducky.
we want to go a rubber ducky, cannonball run kind of thing.
We want
I
to
don't
play
know. Got a
convoy.
convoy. That's what it is.
Yes,
Oh,
convoy.
yeah.
And it
Oh, that
wasn't
old
rubber
song
duck.
from the 70s.
Yeah, and it
W.C.
was rubber
McCall.
duck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rubber
yeah.
duck. Chris Christopherson never said rubber ducky. He said rubber duck.
Oh
He
well.
doesn't go.
Wow.
Nancy's got a crush
Thanks
on
for
Chris
straightening that
Christopherson.
out. Boy,
I
Yeah.
know,
America
that's
was on pins and needles.
That was an
See?
important
But I'm
point.
wondering if it'll go that way for all these industries connected, because it just seems like garments and, everybody's like, go, go,
Mhm.
go. And at the same time, we have supply chain issues to this day of getting certain things. So it's kind
Well,
of a very
supplies, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and
Oh.
that's so that would be an argument to have quotas so we get the supply chains moving a little better. But you're right. There's a tension there. Quotas aren't wrong. They're only wrong if they're too onerous and they
Mhm.
violate
Right.
these specific requirements. Safety and meal periods, rest periods, that kind of thing.
But
And
it's the same with
that's
the
how
sales
you're-
quotas.
But I think you do need quotas, probably.
You
You
do.
You need to have a goal, like
Otherwise,
something
nothing would get done.
in sales. I mean, you have
And
to have,
and
you have
your
a sales goal.
employees wouldn't know what to expect. What is their job? Your job is to do this much by this time.
Mhm.
So now they
Yeah.
know what they're supposed to do. So when you get hired, you're going to do this much by this time. If you want to raise, then you're going to do this much by this time. And so now you know what the expectation is. If there's no quotas, I mean, nothing would get done, really, would it?
It's the same as sales. However, I've watched a company that I worked for. You have your sales quotas, and then you've got all the incentives, right? Ooh, you could go to a trip to Hawaii. Okay.
Yeah,
However, they also pushed being like over pushy to the point of actually scamming some people. Like I watched the people sell people like, that's a whole other show, but where it isn't doing business with integrity. And so
Right.
people go too far to get the free trip to Hawaii. And I actually know people who ended up in jail over it. So it's,
there's a tension there,
and fake sales. They faked their own sales just for Hawaii. You could have paid for your own Hawaii trip by the time you did it. They bought their own product. It's like insane. It's insane.
Well, maybe it was a good product.
No, because they bought them, and then they tried to return them.
Yeah, well, see, they tried to scam the
Well,
company,
see,
but
I mean,
anyway, but that's
think
because
it
of the
through.
push of the company. Well, and obviously they're nuts, but I suppose I'm not allowed to say that anymore.
But there is a tension there. You're right. I mean, there's a side of quotas that make perfect sense, and then there's a side where it's just pushing too hard. And where is that middle road? And the legislation is trying to get to that. And you brought up something I thought that was pretty interesting that the legislation does touch on, Nancy, and that is they're required. The businesses that have these quotas and are large enough to fall under this law are required to give all new hires the quotas that are required. So, and that's not, it hasn't always been done. And so you kind of find out through the back channels, and it's not formal, all that kind of stuff. So this is making it formal, which I think is good. I mean, that makes sense to me, just let them know up front.
Yeah, because they know the employee, unless if they've never done that kind of work before, then they have no clue how fast they can work. But if they have done or come from that industry, you do know how fast you can work. And the employer, if the employer doesn't set a standard, then nobody knows where they are.
Yeah, it's really good management. I definitely like that part of the legislation.
Yeah, they need a standard.
Well, I think this is all good. I mean, it seems like California is going to be like the star of like the country with these kind of new laws of, New York's going to follow suit. Like we always talk about Washington State. And I think California, man, you guys have so many new laws. How do you even keep up? That's why you have so many breweries.
Okay.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
And wineries,
and good wineries, no doubt. We got a lot of great things out here. All right, but there is the other side of that coin too. And I talk to employers about this all the time. we're pretty heavily regulated here, and to me, it's pretty obvious that drives up costs. And so, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to drive up costs if you're trying to accomplish a good goal, but you do have to be careful about it. And I do scratch my head and I see people who aren't professionals, and how do they make a living here? And more and more people are moving to Texas. And so, again, there's a tension there, and you got to be careful with overregulation just as much as you do with underregulation.
No, that's
going to be
true,
interesting
because
about Texas is getting, it's Joe Rogan's fault. He moved to Austin and told everyone to get out. He started it. No, but he did. No, but Texas
but it's
is
true.
interesting.
When it becomes too hard to do business in a state, people do move on. Entire companies move on.
Tesla, they moved out of California.
I know.
So and that could have been a lot of money for California. I think what he's doing, Well,
the primary customers, their primary customers. Where did they come from?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the next, the new year of laws from you. I know we always do the catch up of what's happening for 2023.
I've already started looking.
Minimum wage is already, we know that's going to continue going up, right? And then here's these laws. It's going to be interesting to see for next year. But listen, Ward, have a wonderful rest of your birthday week and birthday weekend. Just keep partying, dude. It's awesome. Partying
I
it's
appreciate
1999. That. But always fun to catch up with you. Everyone, Ward is on the show every fourth Wednesday. We get to hang out with Ward and talk about employment law and anything else we think that is fun to talk about, like beer and fishing in Alaska, Padres, whatever we feel like. It's always fun. But always keep up with Ward. Go to bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com and, of course, bigblendradio.com. Thank you so much, Ward.
Thanks you. Thanks for having me on. You guys have a good weekend too.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.